In the marble halls of Providence Municipal Court, where the scales of justice hang balanced and impartial, there exists a courtroom unlike any other in America. This is the domain of Judge Frank Caprio, a man whose reputation extends far beyond the boundaries of Rhode Island, reaching millions across the world through his viral courtroom videos. But what makes this courtroom special isn't the technology that broadcasts these proceedings, nor the historic architecture that surrounds it. What makes this place extraordinary is the man who presides over it, a judge who has dedicated his life to proving that justice and compassion are not opposing forces, but rather two sides of the same coin. Today's story is one that will test that philosophy to its very limits. It's a story about privilege, about humility, about the masks we wear and the truths we hide. Most importantly, it's a story about what happens when someone mistakes kindness for weakness and discovers that real justice isn't always what we expect it to be. Our tale begins on a crisp autumn morning in Providence, Rhode Island. The leaves are turning golden and crimson, painting the city in nature's most vibrant palette. Inside the courthouse, the usual morning rush is underway. Court officers check in citizens who have come to address their traffic violations, parking tickets, and other municipal matters. Some people are nervous, clutching paperwork with trembling hands. Others are resigned, accepting their fate with quiet dignity. But one woman who enters that morning is different. Her name is Victoria Ashworth, and everything about her entrance announces her importance, or at least what she believes to be her importance. She strides through the courthouse doors wearing a designer pantsuit that probably costs more than most people in the building earn in a month. Her heels click authoritatively against the polished floor, each step a declaration of superiority. Diamond earrings catch the morning light, throwing tiny rainbows across the walls as she passes. Her perfectly manicured hand grips a designer handbag that could easily be mistaken for a small fortune. Victoria Ashworth is a prominent figure in the Blackstone district, one of Providence's most affluent neighborhoods. She sits on the board of several charitable organizations, though her involvement seems more about photo opportunities than genuine philanthropy. She's married to a successful commercial real estate developer, and she's made sure everyone in her social circle knows it. Her Instagram feed is a carefully curated collection of luxury vacations, expensive dinners, and name-dropping posts about the important people she knows. But today she's not here for a social event or a charity gala. She's here because she received 3 parking tickets over the past month, and she has absolutely no intention of paying them. As she approaches the check-in desk, the court officer, a patient woman named Maria Rodriguez, who has worked here for 15 years, greets her with a professional smile. "Good morning, ma'am. Are you here for a scheduled hearing?" Victoria doesn't even make eye contact. She's too busy typing on her phone, her thumbs flying across the screen as she responds to what must be an incredibly important message, or more likely, complains to one of her friends about the indignity of having to come to court. "Yes, obviously," Victoria says without looking up. "I'm here about some ridiculous parking tickets. This whole thing is a waste of my time." Maria maintains her composure, something she's had to do countless times in her career. "I understand, ma'am. If you could just provide me with your citation numbers or your driver's license, I can check you in." Victoria finally looks up, and her expression is one of barely concealed annoyance. She reaches into her handbag with exaggerated movements, as if this simple action is beneath her. She pulls out a stack of papers and drops them on the counter with a dismissive gesture. "Here, can we speed this up? I have a lunch appointment at 12:30. Maria takes the citations and begins processing them. As she reviews the documents, her experienced eyes note several things. The first ticket was issued for parking in a handicap spot without proper authorization. The second was for parking in front of a fire hydrant. The third was for parking in a clearly marked no parking zone during street cleaning hours. Each violation shows a pattern of someone who simply doesn't believe the rules apply to them. "All right, Miss Ashworth, you're in courtroom 3. Please have a seat in the waiting area, and they'll call your name when it's time." "How long will that take?" I told you I have plans. It depends on how many cases are ahead of you, ma'am, usually no more than an hour. Victoria scoffs audibly. An hour? Are you kidding me? Do you know who I am? And there it is. Those 5 words that never, in the history of human interaction, made anyone sound better. Do you know who I am? The universal declaration of someone who has confused status with substance, wealth with worth, position with character. Maria Rodriguez, who has heard these words more times than she can count, responds with practiced professionalism. I understand your time is valuable, ma'am. Everyone's time here is valuable. If you'd like to take a seat, we'll process you as quickly as possible. Victoria rolls her eyes dramatically and stalks off towards the waiting area, her heels clicking even more aggressively than before. She immediately returns to her phone, her fingers flying across the screen as she responds to what must be an incredibly important message, or, more likely, complains to one of her friends about the indignity of having to come to court. Meanwhile, inside courtroom 3, Judge Frank Caprio is already hearing cases. At 77 years old, Judge Caprio has become an internet sensation, with his videos viewed by hundreds of millions of people worldwide. But fame hasn't changed him. He's still the same man who grew up in a working-class Italian immigrant family in Providence, who watched his father work multiple jobs to support their family, who learned firsthand that life's circumstances aren't always fair, but that compassion and understanding can make all the difference. Today's story is one that will test that philosophy to its very limits. It's a story about privilege, about humility, about the masks we wear and the truths we hide. Most importantly, it's a story about what happens when someone mistakes kindness for weakness and discovers that real justice isn't always what we expect it to be.
As Victoria turns to leave, Judge Caprio adds one more thing. Ms. Ashworth, I genuinely hope you have a good lunch today, and I hope that the next time you're running late or busy or inconvenienced, you remember this moment. Because the mark of a truly good person isn't what they do when it's easy or when people are watching. It's what they do when they're rushed, stressed, and think no one will notice. Victoria doesn't respond. She walks out of the courtroom with her head held high, but there's something different about her posture now, a stiffness that suggests the armor of her arrogance has been dented, if not yet broken. After Victoria leaves, Judge Caprio takes a moment to collect himself. He's visibly tired, not physically, but emotionally. These cases, the ones where someone shows such disregard for both the law and basic human decency, they take a toll. Officer Patterson approaches the bench. "That was something, Your Honor." Judge Caprio nods. "James, in all my years on this bench, I've tried to treat every person with dignity and respect. But I won't let someone mistake that respect for weakness. Those parking spaces, those fire zones, those regulations, they're not arbitrary. They protect people. And if someone with resources and education can't understand that..." He trails off, shaking his head. "Do you think she'll actually learn anything from this?" Officer Patterson asks. Judge Caprio sighs. "I don't know. Some people do, some people don't. But I have to believe that showing people the human face of their actions can make a difference. That's why I required the community service with actual children with disabilities, not just filing paperwork somewhere. She needs to see the people she's affecting." In the days following the hearing, something interesting happens. The video of the court proceeding, as all of Judge Caprio's hearings are, is posted online. Within 48 hours, it's gone viral. Not because of Judge Caprio, his videos always get views, but because of Victoria Ashworth's behavior and the judge's response. The comment sections explode with reactions. This is exactly what entitled people need to hear. Judge Caprio is a saint for staying that calm. She actually said, "Do you know who I am?" twice. The audacity. Community service at a children's disability charity is perfect. Chef's kiss. This judge is what the justice system should be everywhere. But there are also some comments that give pause. This seems harsh for parking tickets. Isn't community service excessive? She should just pay the fines and move on. These comments reveal something interesting about how we think about justice in our society. We've become so accustomed to the idea that wealth can simply erase consequences that when actual accountability appears, it looks extreme. We've normalized the concept that rich people can just pay fines and continue their behavior unchanged. But Judge Caprio understands something crucial. Justice isn't just about punishment, it's about transformation. It's about creating an opportunity for people to understand why their actions matter and how they affect others. Money is meaningless to someone like Victoria Ashworth. $525 is probably what she spends on a casual shopping trip. But 8 hours sitting with disabled children? 4 hours learning about fire safety? Those experiences can't be bought off. They require presence, attention, and potentially empathy. 3 weeks later, Victoria Ashworth walks into the Children's Charity of Rhode Island for her first day of court-ordered community service. She's dressed down from her usual style, no designer clothes, no expensive jewelry, but she still carries herself with visible reluctance. The charity coordinator, a warm woman named Patricia Chin, who has worked with disabled children for 20 years, greets her with professional courtesy. "Ms. Ashworth, thank you for coming. I understand you're here to complete community service hours ordered by the court?" "Yes," Victoria says curtly. "Let's just get this over with." Patricia's smile doesn't falter, though her eyes show she's dealt with reluctant volunteers before. "All right. Today you'll be working with our adaptive sports program. We have 6 children, ages 7 to 12, who are practicing for a wheelchair basketball showcase. Your job will be to help set up equipment, assist the children as needed, and help clean up afterward." Wheelchair basketball? Victoria can't hide her surprise. "I don't know anything about that." "That's okay," Patricia says gently. "The children will teach you." They walk into the gymnasium, and Victoria stops in the doorway. 6 children in various types of wheelchairs are warming up on the court, passing a basketball back and forth, laughing and calling to each other. Their joy is infectious and obvious. These aren't sad, pitiful children needing charity. These are kids having fun, being athletes, living their lives. A girl who looks about 10, with bright red hair and pigtails, wheels over to Patricia. "Miss Pat, are you going to play with us today?" "Not today, Maya, but I have someone special who's going to help out. This is Ms. Victoria. Can you show her how we do things here?" Maya looks up at Victoria with bright green eyes full of curiosity. "Hi, Ms. Victoria. Do you play basketball?" Victoria, for perhaps the first time since entering the courthouse weeks ago, doesn't have a ready response. I used to, a little bit, in high school." "Cool. Do you want to try from a chair? It's way harder than standing basketball. I can teach you." "I'm not sure that," Victoria begins, but Maya has already wheeled over to a spare sports wheelchair. "Come on, it's fun." Maya's enthusiasm is relentless and somehow impossible to refuse. Victoria looks at Patricia, who simply nods encouragingly. With visible reluctance, Victoria lowers herself into the wheelchair. Maya immediately starts explaining the basics: how to push the wheels efficiently, how to stop, how to turn. Victoria tries a few pushes and is immediately struck by how much more difficult it is than she expected. "See?" Maya grins with a teasing grin. "Told you it's harder. Now try to catch." She tosses the basketball towards Victoria, who fumbles it badly. For the next 2 hours, Victoria is immersed in a world she never knew existed. She watches how these children, some of whom were born with disabilities, others who acquired them through accidents or illness, navigate the court with skill and determination that puts many able-bodied athletes to shame. A boy named Marcus,
who lost his legs in a car accident 2 years ago, demonstrates a three-point shot that would make any basketball player proud. I practiced that for 6 months, he tells Victoria with obvious pride. My physical therapist said it would help build my upper body strength, but really, I just wanted to be able to make that shot. That's really impressive, Victoria says, and she means it. At one point, Maya wheels up beside Victoria, who is watching the practice with a thoughtful expression. Miss Victoria, can I ask you something? Sure. Why are you really here? Miss Pat said you're doing community service. Did you get in trouble? Victoria hesitates. Something about this child's direct honesty makes lying seem impossible. Yes, I got in trouble for parking in handicap spaces when I wasn't supposed to. Oh, Maya nods seriously. That's really not cool. My mom says people do that all the time, and sometimes when we go to places, all the handicap spots are taken by people who don't need them. One time we had to leave a store without going in because she couldn't find parking and couldn't wheel me from far away because it was raining really hard. The simple statement lands like a punch. Victoria thinks of that day at the Blackstone Shopping Plaza, how she'd parked in that spot for just 5 minutes to grab some specialty coffee beans, how she'd barely thought about it beyond her own convenience. Maya, I'm sorry. That was wrong of me. I didn't think about how it affected people, real people, people like you. Maya shrugs with the easy forgiveness of childhood. Well, now you know. Hey, do you want to try shooting some baskets? I bet I can teach you. As Victoria spends the rest of the afternoon learning wheelchair basketball basics, something begins to shift inside her. It's small, barely perceptible, like the first crack in a thick sheet of ice, but it's there. 3 weeks later, Victoria Ashworth sits in a classroom at the Providence Fire Department headquarters for her mandatory fire safety and emergency vehicle access course. She's one of 8 people in the class. Others include a delivery driver who repeatedly blocked hydrants, a contractor whose work truck caused access issues, and several people, like Victoria, who dismissed the importance of fire zone regulations. The instructor is Captain Michael O'Brien, a 25-year veteran of the fire department with graying hair and the weathered face of someone who has seen both the best and worst of humanity. He doesn't start with a lecture. He starts with a video. What you're about to see is footage from a residential fire that occurred in Providence in 2018. I'm showing you this not to traumatize you,